Hello, I'm Mark Gatiss. I've just been narrating F Benson's ghost stories. Yes, they do. I mean, I think you can't help but be influenced by what you're experiencing and obviously what you're reading at the time. It depends what your interests are, but you know, I'm just as likely to take inspiration for an episode of Sherlock from going back to Conan Doyle as I am from something that's actually happened in real life or something, some sort of set of circumstances that I've read about. There's an incident in episode 1 of the new series which actually happened to a friend of mine, and I just put it straight in, not because it's actually a mystery in that sense, it's like a funny thing. And I suppose if you try and read a lot or have a breadth of interest, you draw your inspirations, as any creator or artist does, from a wide range, a wide palette of things. So definitely, but I love all kinds of fiction and also non-fiction. I love historical history books, actual proper history books, not historical fiction, and politics and all sorts. So you know, it's a good thing to have all those in the mix, really. I think that there's one called The Room in the Tower, which was always one of my favourites, and it's actually really, again, it's actually really creepy. But I think that's what I like about them overall. There are some which are lighter in tone. There's one called Spinach in this collection, which is very much of the Mappa Lucia world, fake mediums and much more brittle and camp. But they're mostly quite full of dread, and obviously there are certain preoccupations that must have haunted him through his life, which come out through the books. But I think The Room in the Tower is probably the creepiest of them. There's a wonderful collection by Roald Dahl, which he edited, not that he'd written. And the introduction to that book is really terrific because he was commissioned in the 50s to actually produce a series of TV adaptations. So he read hundreds and thousands of them. And the series never happened, but he kept the list of what he thought were the best. So it's a really good list of stuff. Obviously, the master is M.R. James, and quite rightly so. He has such a particular, unique take on the whole form. It's always a story that happened about 30 or 40 years ago to a friend of somebody. There's a sort of distance to it, and always a threat usually from the ancient past of some terrible creature or some vengeful spirit. They're my favourites. Well, I'm tired of saying this because I say it in every interview and still no one's rung up. I want to play Jacob Marley in The Christmas Carol, which is my favourite, one of my absolute favourite Dickens and my favourite stories, and I love that character. I've dressed up as him 3 times for fancy dress. I've actually adapted the thing twice. It's never happened. I'm getting tired of it. I'll be dead before it happens. Then I'll have to come back as a ghost to do it. As a child, I used to rehearse being Marley in the mirror. And my favourite bit, for sheer spookiness. People often forget one of the great things about this story. It's a great ghost story. It's not just a Christmas story or this amazing story that feels like it's been with us forever. It's a great ghost story. And Marley, of course, is the most spook-like of them all. And Scrooge says to him, "Spirit, what do you want with me?" And he says, "Much." I love that.